slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't.
Hey team, this video is how to run a faster half marathon using interval training. And I think with the half marathon distance, I think there's a lot of athletes out there, you may be one of them, that just do much better just on volume. They just stay very consistent with their training. They're not so focused on doing interval training, doing a lot of speed training, but they do much better just staying consistent with volume and running higher or mid to high level mileage over a consistent period of time, 4 or 5 months, 6 months at times. But I think that for other athletes, just running volume isn't enough to run a faster half marathon. And I think to run a faster half marathon, you do have to have some form of interval training into your routine. You know, as I talk about in my other videos, the training plans I've created and the running courses that I've made on RunDreamAchieve.com, I go in depth on this. Okay, fartlek training, hill training, speed workouts. Whether it's, you know, if you're training for a half marathon, that might mean some of the examples of the workouts that I would do and that I was doing to in my peak running competing for the half marathon was like 1,600 meter reps on the track with a 3-minute recovery, running at around 10K race pace, okay, and giving yourself more time earlier on in your buildup. If you're just starting off, you might need like 4 minutes of recovery between each one of those 1,600 meter reps. And then as you get more anaerobically fit, you want to drop that. You want to drop the amount of time you're giving yourself between the reps. Sometimes, I mean, at my fittest, I would do mile repeats with 60 seconds rest in between each one. Okay. You don't want to try that when you haven't built that foundation of aerobic mileage first. So make sure that you've spent around 4 weeks of aerobic mileage building that base before you start going into interval training for a half marathon buildup. Never start a training plan without having a few weeks of just easy aerobic mileage built. You want to strengthen your tendons, your ligaments, your muscles before you start thinking about doing more specific, more intense training in preparing for your half marathon. Okay, and another thing in regards to half marathon training and using interval training, you have to have a long-term vision here. I know, you know, and I know I'm preaching to the choir for most of you or all of you that are watching this video. You know that you're not going to run phenomenal times in this particular event in a matter of weeks or even months. In most cases, it takes several years. Okay, I ran my first half marathon when I was a sophomore in college. Might have been my junior year. I ran 1:13. I needed to run 1:15 flat or faster to qualify for the NAIA Marathon National Championships. That was when my alma mater, Malone University, was an NAIA school. Now they're NCAA Division II. I ended up not running the marathon, but I did qualify for the national championships. I just felt like the marathon distance at that time in my career, I was intimidated by it. I didn't think I could really run a fast marathon time when I was at Malone. But I did run I think it was 1:13:10 or 1:13:21, somewhere around there in Cleveland, Ohio. And eventually, several years later, in 2007, I graduated college in 2000. 2007 is when I ran my PR for the half marathon in 1:07:06. Okay, and that was in Philadelphia. And the reason why I'm telling you this is look at that amount of time. Okay, it took me basically from 1992 when I first started running until 2007 to run a 1:07:06 half marathon. Okay, it's a competitive time, but it's not going to set any world records, obviously nowhere near that type of effort, but it's that consistent work over a long period of time. So, and again, a big part of that reason to going from 1:13 when I was a collegiate athlete to going down to 1:07:06 was I was using interval training. I was doing a mixture of faster long runs, hill repetitions. Okay, interval training comes in a variety of different ways you can do this. I love doing like repeat hundreds, repeat 150 sprints up hills, and then jogging or walking on the way down. Walk on the way down when you're not very fit. Okay, give yourself ample time to recover. The key thing with these particular workouts, interval training, in preparing for a half marathon, is you want to get the effort in. Okay, don't try to run too fast too soon, because if you don't give yourself sufficient time to first lay that foundation of aerobic fitness first before you start going in that specific training that I was talking about earlier, you're going to be stressed out. Okay, so don't, the less stress, the less tension, the less muscle tension, the less mental tension that you have, the better your performance is going to be. But you have to be patient to run a faster half marathon too. Okay, so give yourself ample time to first adapt to what you're throwing at yourself. If you're doing repeat, in this example, if you're doing repeat hundreds up a hill and you're trying to run those repeat hundreds at say like 24 seconds each, and you're struggling to hit like 2, and you're doing, your goal, you're doing like 12 to 14 reps, and you're struggling to hit those times in 2, slow off the paces, okay? Don't jog on the way down for recovery. Walk on the way down, okay? First, build your anaerobic fitness first. The effort is what counts, okay? If you're trying to hit 24s, hit 30s, hit 32s, okay? Again, in the early stages of your buildup, you have to first be a little bit more conservative in your training, in your intensities, so that, again, you don't frustrate yourself, you don't get too... you don't start doubting yourself, okay? Because your body is going to adapt to what you're throwing at it. Interval training will help you run a faster half marathon, because again, when you're doing interval training, you're running closer down like your 3K, 5K, 10K race pace versus running just at half marathon race pace. Okay, so you want to run at paces that are much, much more aggressive than the pace that you're aiming for in the half marathon distance. You're improving your body's lactate tolerance. You're improving your ability to clear lactic acid more effectively when running at faster paces. And I think that's a big core reason why interval training is so critical to running a faster half marathon. Okay, you have to still focus on your recovery. You still have to slow down on your easy days. I always tell runners, I have a runner right now I'm coaching that's aiming to break a 2:30 marathon. His PR is 2:40, and he's preparing for the Boston Marathon. I told him just recently in an email, he reached out to me. I said, disregard pace on easy days. Just go out, if you know the distance of your course or the amount of miles or kilometers you're running, don't even wear your watch. Just relax on those easy days, okay? Get in the volume. Stay consistent with your training in regards to that, but don't get so hyped up about what pace am I per kilometer, or pace per running, or pace per mile am I running on my easy days. Enjoy the experience of giving yourself time to relax, slow down on those recovery days, so that when it's time to do your interval training, whether that's hill repetitions, whether that's doing repeat 3200s on the track, or 10 2000s on the track, or 10 1000s on the track, those longer, really hard interval training type workouts, you're going to be able to be much more rejuvenated and recovered for those specific workouts, because you had that same amount of discipline that you're throwing at yourself on the hard days on those recovery days as well. Okay, so it's very important. Look up the word super compensation on Google. Super compensation. Look that up. Research what that is and what happens to the body right after you do a hard interval training workout, and what happens to the body 48 hours after you do that workout. Okay, I'm not going to go into specifics on that, but it's a very important physiological adaptation that occurs. And interval training will help you to not only handle harder workouts in the future, but it's going to help you to get that goal half marathon race pace that you're aiming for to feel that much easier for you, so that you can sustain your goal race pace longer than your competition. You can react by doing fartlek workouts, speeding up, slowing down, doing track workouts, hill repetitions, running over hillier terrain. You'll be able to react to the surges in the races that your competition may throw at you. Okay, that's why I really like doing fartlek workouts, where you're like, some of my favorites was running for an hour, running Now, this is not a workout you want to do unless you have given yourself sufficient time to do that. Maybe start off doing like 20 minutes of 1 minute hard, 1 minute easy. I like getting to the point where I could get up to about an hour, 40 minutes to an hour of running hard, running around, low 5 minute pace for the mile, and then running around 6 minute pace, 6 to 6:30 pace for my easy recovery 1 minute section. So again, because you're speeding up and slowing down in those particular workouts, you're getting accustomed to the various paces that are going to be thrown at you, or that you're going to be throwing at yourself in these half marathons, so that you can run a faster half marathon. As I always talk about too in other videos, think about the other strategies that also go into running a faster half marathon. Drinking enough in the race, pacing, not trying to win the half marathon in the first 6 miles of the race. Okay, running the tangents in a race, running the least amount of distance as possible versus your competition that may be running, like if there's a right-hand turn coming up, if your competition's on the far left of the road, they're running more distance than you if you're running on the right-hand side of the road. So it's these little things that really pay dividends. Okay. Give yourself ample time to adapt to what you're throwing at yourself. It takes about 28 days physiologically to adapt to any specific intensity you're throwing at yourself. So be patient along the way here. You're going to run a faster half marathon. A lot of runners will run a faster half marathon just by being consistent with the training. They're not lukewarm. They're just white hot focused on running a new personal best in the half marathon. And because of that discipline, and that motivation, and that consistency over a long period of time, you can still run a great half marathon just on mileage, just on volume. Okay, but the faster you're trying to run, the more interval training is going to play a part. Okay, if you're trying to break a 3-hour half marathon, a lot of runners can do that on volume. But if you're trying to break an hour and 20 minutes for a half marathon, interval training has to be a part of your preparation. And correct me if I'm wrong. If you don't agree with that at all, let me know in the comment section. I'd still love to hear what you all think. Has interval training played a major part in you running a fast half marathon, or have you done better in your half marathons just mainly focusing on volume? Because I know a lot of runners out there will do that. I don't know what that thumbs up is, but that's awesome. But no, I think a lot of runners just do better on volume versus doing speed workouts. So that's my answer of how to run a faster marathon using interval training. Those are some of the things, some of the mindset and the tactics and strategies I've used over the years to, again, go from running a 1:13 in college down to 1:07:06 to almost breaking an hour and 7 minutes for the marathon. So hopefully this was helpful for all of you. Feel free to leave me a comment below. I'll reach back and respond to you. Check out the resources below these videos as well as on RunDreamAchieve.com, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Thanks so much.